Mrs. Baucus is here with us today, and she'll give some comments on her own behalf. And then I know I have several folks in the room that want to speak as proponents, and maybe even an opponent or two. I don't know if that's the case or not, but this is an excellent nominee. I cannot describe for you how strong this nominee is. You'll know in a couple of minutes when you get done hearing from the people in this room. But this is one of the strongest nominees I've ever brought before this committee or any other, and I urge your consideration of Senate Resolution 26. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Brown. Mrs. Baucus, would you care to present yourself to the committee?
You're the chairman, but you're the vice chairman?
I'm the person in charge at the moment.
All right. That's what John told me when he talked to you the other day. Mr. Chairman.
That works.
Okay, and senators, thank you so much for letting me be here today, and thank you for your consideration for confirming me to this position. I have been in agriculture basically all of my life, and various types of agriculture, starting with 4-H, and then eventually I married into the Baucus family. John and I have been on the ranch for over 40 years. And we have done everything you can possibly think of in ranching. We've been involved in quite a variety of agricultural institutions. I have served on any number of boards. And I find being asked to do this quite an honor. I also realize that it's going to be a lot of work and that it will require a lot of patience and a lot of foresight. I went to a one-room school, which is a little different probably than most of the people in this room. It gave me a background in being self-sufficient that if you're in a regular classroom you don't have. I'm not quite sure what it is you want me to talk about, and so perhaps it would be better if you ask me questions. What do you want to know about me?
I suspect that at this point you should probably sit down and let the proponents come and talk, and then any opponents, and then after that we will ask questions.
Good.
Are there any proponents?
Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Ken Morrison, M-O-R-R-I-S-O-N, and I've had the wonderful opportunity to personally observe the building of an ideal resume for serving on the Board of Livestock. Milking cows in the early morning before the sun rose when we were kids, collecting eggs in the chicken coop, up on the hill, gathering hay bales in the summer and feeding them to the cows in the winter. Caring for the ranch horses, active participation in statewide agricultural associations, and co-managing a large family Montana ranch. Nina Baucus has done all of these things, and I've watched her do them since she was born, so it's been pretty exciting, and I happen to think that she will make an excellent appointment to the Board of Livestock and serve Montana very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. Further proponents?
1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know what's wrong with our PA system, Mr. Vice Chair, but we'll may have to adjust a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Brown.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, for the record, my name is Errol Rice. That's spelled E-R-R-O-L. Last name is Rice, R-I-C-E. I'm here on behalf of the Montana Stock Growers Association. We stand in support of Ms. Baucus and Senate Resolution number 26. We've thoroughly reviewed her biography and her background and feel very confident that the governor's appointment of her to the Board of Livestock is a very good appointment, brings a very dynamic skill set, a very dynamic background, which is going to be required to help manage a very important agency to our industry. So for those reasons, appreciate your due pass, and please support Senate Resolution number 26. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Further proponents?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Chelsea Kramer, C-R-E-M-E-R. I'm here today on behalf of the Montana Farm Bureau Federation, and I've also been asked to include the support of Les Graham and the Auction Market Association as well in my testimony. And we would just like to offer our support of the appointment for Mrs. Nina Bacchus as well. As she mentioned briefly in her testimony, she realizes that this appointment will involve a lot of difficult and hard work. And as an industry representative, that's the exactly the type of person we're looking for right now, is people who realize what it will take to serve on this board, people who are willing to commit the time and the dedication and to roll their sleeves up and get to work. And so we would ask for your support of Senate Resolution 26. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kramer.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Jacob Kogel. For the record, last name is spelled Cowgill, representing Montana Farmers Union. And we also support the appointment of Nina Bacchus and support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cowgill.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Jim Brown, B-R-O-W-N. I'm here today on behalf of the membership of the Montana Wool Growers Association. We too rise in strong support of Mrs. Bacchus's nomination to the Board of Livestock. In fact, we couldn't think of a better candidate that the governor came forth with than Mrs. Bacchus. Mrs. Bacchus is a member of our association, the Sheep Industry Association, but as you heard from Senator Brown, Mrs. Bacchus also raises cattle, and as Mrs. Bacchus said, she has a wide and varied knowledge of the agriculture industry, so she'll be able to represent all industries that are represented on the Board of Livestock. Again, we couldn't be more pleased with this nomination. We think it's a tremendous one, and we urge that this resolution pass. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any other proponents? Any other proponents? Seeing none. Any opponents? Any opponents? Sound people. Questions from the committee? Any questions from the committee? Senator Copenhauer.
You're just making stuff up now. Mr. Chairman, a question for Ms. Bacchus. Thank you, Mrs. Bacchus. It's great to see you here, and you've got great support from folks in the industry, which is who you'll be representing. I know you know that you're walking into kind of a mess. I'm curious about what your thoughts are about what kinds of differences you think you can make in the board.
Mr. Chairman, and
Cohenhauer,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, for one thing, I actually just got handed a set of laws for the livestock. I cannot tell you how excited I am. There are people on the board who do not have statutes for livestock for the state of Montana. And how in heaven's name can you make decisions and move forward and lead the department if you don't have the statutes? And I just was given a set, and I am very excited. I have studied the minutes for the last year, sort of. They're a little hard to follow. And one of the things I've tried very hard to figure out are the finances. I am a black and white hard copy person. My mother was a bookkeeper her whole life. I have worked in bookkeeping. I have kept the books for the ranch. At the ranch, we have an enterprise accounting system. Every single dollar that comes in is assigned to an enterprise, and every bill that comes in is assigned to an enterprise, and at the end of the day, they better match up. Well, in the first place, you got to be able to see those, and I haven't seen them yet. But until you folks pass my nomination, I don't feel it's right for me to be asking. I need to wait for you folks. If you decide that you would like me to do this, then I will go ahead and I'm going to start asking questions, and I want answers. And I have done this before in other committees, statewide, nationally. And, you know, what you're doing has to be out there in front. Transparency is a word that a lot of people say, but that's the truth. If you're not showing what's going on, then what are you hiding? And I don't feel we have anything to hide, at least until I start getting some answers. And when I went to the meeting the other day, I was left with the impression there are several other board members who are very frustrated and who would also like to see answers. I don't know if they know how to ask for those answers. But being a mother and a grandmother and having worked so hard with my husband running the ranch, I know how to ask questions and I know how to get answers. And at this time, everyone else on the board are men, and I intend to scare them.
Amen.
So, I signed an oath of office. And I take that oath very, very seriously. And that oath said that I promise to uphold the laws of Montana. And that book I was just handed, the statutes on the livestock industry, are the laws for the livestock industry. I promised I would uphold those, and by God I will, whether the rest of the board likes it or not. But I really feel there are other people on the board. They just need a little help, and I will help them.
Thank you.
Further questions from the committee? Senator Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Baucus, I apologize for being late to the hearing. I was detained. But I appreciate your answer to Senator Konauer's question. I guess to pursue that a little further, again, it's not really a fair situation to put you into, but it is the situation we find ourselves in. And I guess I'm curious as if you've ever, in your professional life, either on the ranch or perhaps in nonprofits or other things that you've done, have you had an experience where you've had to go into something that needs cleaning up, for lack of a better word, and what have you done in those situations, and what do you think needs to be done here?
I chaired Governor Roscoe's Private Lands Public Wildlife Council, the one where, when I was asked to chair it, he told me, if you guys can just come up with one thing that you can agree on. And as you can imagine, when you're dealing with hunting and hunting license, and it was all over the board, and the emotions were all over the board. And what I did, first meeting, I told the people there that as chair, it was my responsibility to get them to accomplish what it was they wanted to accomplish. And I actually finally got to the point where I actually used a referee's whistle in the meetings. I mean, the meetings were wild. But when they finished, they had 19 proposals that they handed to Governor Roscoe, because I made them stay with what it was they decided they wanted to accomplish. So we got through an incredibly difficult set of circumstances, and we survived, and we did it. On a national level, I was on the ASI executive board when we were working with imports of lamb products from outside of the country. That was very difficult. That, again, lots of emotions, lots of finger pointing, lots of he said, they said, but in the end, we were able to work it out. But we were able to work it out because we all sat down and we all talked about it. And I am not afraid to ask questions. A lot of people are, and I understand that, and that's fine. And many times I would ask questions in meetings that other people wouldn't ask, or they would vote one way. And I'd get to me and I'd say, no, I'm sorry, I can't agree with that because. And then this one would say, well, you know, maybe she's right. Or that one would say, maybe she's right. Or then we'd have a discussion. And so we worked through it. And you have to talk, you have to communicate. If you don't communicate, how can you work through things? Does that answer your question? Yep.
Further questions from the committee? Ms. Baucus, I've got one or maybe two here. What skills do you bring to this job in the area of budgeting?
In the area of budgeting, well, first off, you have to know what you have. And you have to know what your expenses are. And you can't spend money you don't have. And John and I had a heated conversation once way back in the beginning of our marriage. He wanted a piece of equipment, and he knew the money would be there by the end of the year, but it wasn't there yet. And I grew up with, if you want something, you save your money until you have the money, and then you go buy it. And we worked through it, we got through it, and we didn't break the bank doing it. But you have to know what your expenses are, and then you budget accordingly. And if you don't have the money, you don't spend it. It's you have to understand what's coming down the line, and not just for this year, but also for next year. You have to project what next year's going to do, and the year after that, so you have some idea, because prices are going to change. Prices are not going to stay the same. And so what we do in our enterprise accounting for the ranch, every enterprise we can look at any given day. We can see what's come in. We can see what's going out. Is any one enterprise subsidizing another enterprise? And why? Why is that enterprise not paying for itself? Is it a short term? Is it a long term? What do we need to do to adjust it and make it work? Those are the kinds of things I've done on the ranch.
Just to follow up, Ms. Baucus, in either on the ranch or in one of the organizations that you've been involved in, have you run into a situation where all of a sudden the budget dollars weren't there? The revenue wasn't coming in as expected, and what did you do?
I have not been in that position, so I cannot answer you on that. But if such a position were to arise, there are many very well-educated people that you go to and you say, okay, help me through this, walk me through this, how do we deal with it?
Senator Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Baucus, I have a sort of unique position in the Board of Livestock because I utilize it quite a bit as a producer in Miles City, and I've talked to our district guys and our deputy guys for the last several years and have been involved with this from both ends, sort of from the grassroots as the guy who's out there brand inspection calves when we load, and then also positioned in the legislature and seen it and sitting on the audit committee, and I saw the audit last summer. The department has I think a morale issue, and I hear this from the grassroots with the employees. What do you think, from the board's perspective, can be done to improve that?
Well, again, you got to go back. And I don't have the information in front of me yet because I'm not a board member yet. My question is, why is the Brands division $200,000 in the hole? Why is it really $200,000 in the hole? Or because they don't know what's going on? Is the money actually there? And to deal with the morale issue, you know, it's very easy to go to a meeting and when the meeting's done to go home. This job is not going to be one where I can go home. I need to be in and out of that office every week. I need to go to the sales. I need to go talk to the inspectors. I need to be available to them. I need to walk in their office and say, can I have a cup of coffee? And can we just talk? Can you tell me where you are? What can I do for you? It doesn't do any good if they don't know the people who are coming in for the board meeting. And Miles City probably doesn't know most people coming in for the board meeting. But I already told John he may have to buy me a new car. The one I have has almost 300,000 miles on it. I don't know how many trips to Miles City and Glendive it can make.
One final follow-up, Mr. Chairman.
Follow-up?
Last one, Ms. Boggess, and I commend you for wanting to take this job on because it's a big responsibility, and you certainly got your work cut out for you, and I appreciate anyone who would step up to do this on a volunteer basis. My final question is, in your either professional on the ranch or with your many service organizations, have you ever had to terminate an employee?
Yes,
Thank you.
more than once.
Any further questions from the committee? Seeing none. Senator Brown. Thank you, Ms. Baucus.
Thank you, members of the committee, and thank you for the good questions and for taking this so seriously. I heard 5 things there that I hope stuck in your mind too. One was the commitment to transparency, that you have to be straightforward with what the numbers are and what's happening in your goals of a department. Second was communications, that our nominee realized the importance of good communications from the very smallest employee up to the top of the department to her fellow board members. The third was work ethic. This lady will do her homework, and she hasn't got that much to do because she's been in the industry, her family's been in the industry for 100 years, so she understands how the industry works. She will do her homework to learn how state government works with that industry. You couldn't help but be impressed by her strength. She is her own woman, and she's a strong woman. And finally, her commitment, which you may not quite be aware of her commitment level, but this morning, the Sebin Ranch started their shearing operation. When I found that out a couple days ago, I said, well, we could reschedule this hearing. I mean, we don't have to have it this morning. I mean, because this morning, I mean, like a couple hours ago, I'd like to have seen what she looked like a couple hours ago before she got her jewelry on and left the shearing barn and came in here to be in front of you. But when I said we could probably move the date because I know you can't move a shearing crew once you get your sheep shearing crew set. And I can just imagine what was going through their mind yesterday when they had 2-foot snowdrifts at their place and here the shearing crew's showing up. What are we going to do? But she said, no, I'm committed to this. I'll be there. The shearing crew can get away without me for a couple of hours. I'll be there. So I think that kind of commitment is what we need. That's the commitment level, the experience level, the ability that we need right now. So I urge you to give a strong consideration for do concur with the governor's nomination on Senate Resolution 26. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.